What is up, everyone? Welcome to the finals of the January 2025 Portland Monthly Premodern Paper Magic Afternoons Tournament. These are the best of the best decks, so let's get into those deck lists. First up, we have Curran, aka Testacular on MTGO, where he is well known for piloting elf decks, and this is no exception. He is playing Angry Elves. This is the version of Elves with Survival of the Fittest and Anger and one mountain to give all your elves haste. Now, I know I'm going to get comments and questions below. Yes, these are in fact all real cards that he whiteboarded himself. Yes, that includes the Japanese cradles. Those are real. I do want to call out, I guess, that the Masticores and the Survival of the Fittest are technically World Championship editions, but still, the dedication is impressive. Beyond the border, this is pretty much a standard elf deck. I don't think there's too much spice going on here. In our toolbox, there is Well-Wisher, Tribal Force Mage, Squee, Caller of the Claw, Yavimaya Granger, Nantuko Vigilante, Anger, and Deranged Hermit. That seems pretty straightforward with what I've seen on other elf lists going around these days. There are two Masticores as well, and of course, every good elf you'd want to play. For the sideboard, it is pretty standard as well. A couple of Tormod's Crypts for naturalizes, one Tranquil Domain, one Caller of the Claw for those board wipes, four Call of the Herds, one Spike Feeder, and one Uktabi Orangutan. Overall, a really cool list. Definitely can have aggressive starts and be hard to deal with, but let's see who he's playing against. Well, if you watched last round's video, this should be no surprise. Duck, of course, winning makes it so he is in the finals with green-white Enchantress. Now, the printings here are a bit more hodgepodge, so I may not get everything exactly right when we're commentating. Just fair disclosure, but this is an Enchantress build through and through. This is pre-stock from what I have seen. Enchantress is looking to do a similar thing to Elves and power out lots of mana accelerants and draw lots of cards to eventually just overwhelm and combo out for the win. Now, the mana accelerants are things like Wild Growth and Serra Sanctum instead of Gaia's Cradle, and the card draw engine is not Squee and Survival, but in fact is the Enchantress Presence and Argothian Enchantress, which do draw cards every time you play an enchantment, which there are a lot of, including a lot of one drops, including 4 Miri's Guile, which do help filter your top card for that draw effect, and Exploration, which I guess technically is another ramp source. There are 2 Solitary Confinements here, which were essential in the last game versus Storm, as well as 2 Opalescence and 2 Parallax Tides to add a little bit of a creature combo removal element to it with those 3 Seal of Cleansings. The deck also runs 3 Replenishes just in case your opponent is able to deal with some of your board, and has a pretty good sideboard as well. I don't think there's going to be too much coming in from the sideboard here. Maybe the swords and the Aura of Silence, but overall this is going to be a interesting matchup in that Curran is going to be trying to deal damage quickly and early, where Duck is going to be trying to stall out for the long game and try and get a Solitary Confinement down early and just hold on for dear life. Well, those are the decks, so let's get into the games. And here we go. Curran is on the left, Duck is on the right. Now, I did mention in the deck text that Curran is definitely going to want to go fast here. He can combo out very early, getting lots of creatures down, lots of damage presenting itself, especially with a Tribal Force Mage. Deranged Hermit is also another line, making a lot of squirrels, especially with Anger being able to swing in, especially if you can bounce the Deranged Hermit several times to create, say, 8 or 12 squirrels. All swinging in for 2/2 is going to end the game very quickly. Alright, looks like Curran will be on the play here. He's going to fetch. Most likely grabbing a forest. These fetch lands are in here primarily just to help find the one mountain in case he does have an Anger in the graveyard. Anger, like Wonder and other Brawn, I think is the green one, cares about the land on the field as well as being in the graveyard. So he'll just play Land Where Elves Go. Very classic start for the elf deck. Duck gonna play his own forest, and is that a Miri's Guile? Looks like it. No, in fact, we are gonna ramp as well. Play out a Wild Growth. Curran with another fetch. This one, the only of his fetches that are not whiteboarded actually, and also a newer print. On Horizons 3 foil. Pretty amazing art too. Definitely not the classic, and he will actually grab a mountain here, which makes me think he is good on green mana for now. Maybe even has a survival he wants to potentially start running out. And no, we're actually going to play a Tango Wire. Okay, this is actually great. Duck has to tap down his only mana source, and because he used ramp to buff it up, Functionally did nothing with his first turn. Alright, Miri's Guile coming out this turn. Plays out another forest to play it. Now, Tangle Wire is great, of course, because you can tap itself. You also get to stack the triggers, so you get the benefit of having to tap less things down than your opponent. So there is a Cradle. We're going to tap for 2. Play out a Survival. Say go. Now, Tangle Wire does not let you tap enchantments. So Duck is still tapping down all the mana he has. And will only really be able to do something next turn. Tangle Wire actually a really great tool in this matchup. Oh yes, and Duck was using Miri's Guile to check the top cards. He is gonna play out a Brushland and can just pass. Tangle Wire taken down to 2. Just tap 2. What are we gonna do? Tap 1. Ooh, to go get the... Had the Anger in hand. Probably grabbing... Oh no, just grabbing a Priest. Choosing to not grab the Squee. To me this says... Curran's probably gonna try and combo out here. Or at least have a very big turn. That Priest can now tap for 2. He's gonna tap it. No, just go to combat, swing for 1. Okay, never mind. Maybe not having enough action in his hand, not wanting to activate the survival anymore than what he already did. And now Duck has 2 mana available to him currently. Resolving Miri's Guile. Deciding what card he wants on top. You do get to look at the top 3 and rearrange them in any order you choose. It's not quite Sylvan Library. You can't pay life to take cards, but this deck relies so much on locking down the board. The life loss can be a bit of a trap. Alright, we'll play out his own fetch land. Windswept Teeth. Oh, I think he does have... I think he's got the sphere, or the whatever the solitary confinement. I'm gonna mix it up with Sphere of Solitude or whatever. I did that in the last round too. People can comment that I get names wrong of cards. I do a lot. But you know what? I can at least tell you what they do. All right, so solitary confinement coming down. Duck now skips his draw phase, has to discard a card, beginning of a return. Otherwise, he has to sacrifice it. He can choose to sacrifice it even with cards in hand. That is important to know. But he cannot take damage, cannot be the target of spells or abilities. So, Curran, who is gearing up for potentially a very big turn, not be able to do much. Now he does have a Nantuko Vigilante. Oh, we're gonna be discarding the Carrion Ranger, looks like. Probably to grab the Nantuko Vigilante. Although it might be too early to do that. Okay, grab and squee. That makes sense. I'm a little unsure why last turn he didn't grab Squee. He could have fetched for another green source. I'm sure there was a good reason for it. Curran has played Elves for a very long time. A little bit newer to the Premodern list, but still is very familiar with a lot of the more complex lines. Alright, here's a Vigilante. We are gonna tap it for 3. Or play it for 3, I should say. To morph, pay to unmorph, blow up, solitary confinement, Get in for 2 and say go. Now, Duck does have 1 more in the deck as well as 3 replenish. He does have to discard a... Oh, no, sorry. I was going to say he does have to discard card Assault Trade Environment. He just got rid of that, so... Doesn't have to do that, but still has Mirri's Guile trigger. Does he... Wait, does he have another one? He might just actually have the second Solitary Confinement in hand already. Oh, yes. Does have to tap 1 to the Tangle Wire. Oh, no, that's a... Yeah, that's just a Seal of Cleansing. But he might be playing that out still to get rid of the survival. First, going to play an Enchantress Presence. Has 1 floating. No, actually does not have 1 floating, sorry. I, for some reason, think that costs 2, but it does cost 3. Deciding what he wants to do here. I think you do need to take care of the survival. Yeah, goes to 13. Ooh, also has an Opalescence in hand. Trigger on the Presence. And he drew a Replenish. Alright, that is going to get hit, and next turn he can play out the Replenish, get back the Solitary Confinement, and has action in hand. I believe that hand-drawn card is Exploration. He was borrowing that for the tournament, and unfortunately the guy he was borrowing from had to go home, so we had to do a quick little proxy. Okay, we're going to see a Masticore here. And Kern getting aggressive, of course, being able to swing in with that Masticore immediately, thanks to the anger. Unfortunately, we're not getting life totals reflected in the dice here. Hopefully Duck can get that updated for us, but I believe he's down to... Well, he was at 13 before. Taking another 3, 7, 8, down to 5. Basically needing a way to stabilize this turn. He does have the Replenish, so he can just play it, get the Solitary Confinement, get a Seal. Maybe seeing if he can get some extra value, maybe discard some cards here. Okay, Curran being real bro, getting that update for us. Duck is down to 4. I think that's what I said earlier, right? Yeah, I think you just have to play the Replenish. I don't think there's any other good option here. Gonna take 1 for the white. Oh, gonna play Opalescence. Okay. Draw a card. Play Exploration, draw a card. Okay, we're just making a bunch of blockers here. Playing another Exploration, draw a card. Opalescence turns all enchantments into creatures with power and toughness equal to their CMC. So right now, Duck does have a bunch of blockers. However, Curran has a Masticore. Which means, at the very least, he can shoot one of those 1/1s. Those 2 Explorations are 1/1s. That Mirri's Guile is 1/1. Enchantress Presence is a little bit bigger, but definitely... Was he not doing it? That might be a mistake. Alright, discarding the Squee to the Masticore trigger. With Duck only at 3 life, every blocker counts here. And if Curran had actually used the Masticore to shoot one of the 1/1s, he could have... I mean, he has enough mana where I think it still is possible. He's got the Guy's Cradle. Alright, tapping for 4. Are we not activating the Masticore? Okay, we are, I think, activating the Masticore here. One of the strongest cards in the early days of the game. Not only does it have Regenerate, but you can ping a lot of things. But yeah, if he had... No, we're just going to swing in. Okay. There would be one less blocker on the field. If he had actually killed all the small things, he could have just swung in for lethal, right? Or I must be missing a trick here, right? Because that exploration is just a 1/1. I don't think Masticore needs to regenerate, right? I must be missing a trick. Also, that Wild Growth is also a creature. It's no longer attached to that land. Duck, I think, also a little bit new to this deck. So, current missing lethal, I'm pretty sure. And unfortunately, oh, there's a Parallax Wave. Okay, so now there's a real issue. That is now a creature. Because he has Opalescence, he can do the combo where he can just exile all the creatures on current side, and this just became a lot more difficult. Those creatures are now permanently exiled. Yep. Current may not be aware exactly of how this works, although I hear Bosch and Roll did a pretty great Legacy video with the replenished deck updated for Legacy. Yeah, okay, we're going to swing in for 2. And at this point, unless Curran can get rid of that Opalescence, he is not winning this game. Duck stabilizing at 2. And he must not have had a replenish. I must have seen a different card. It may have been the Parallax Wave, but I could have sworn I saw replenish. No, and we're going to scoop it up and go to game number 2. Okay, here we are in game number 2. Gotta say, Duck skating by, skin of his teeth. I think Curran, I mean, this is at the end of a very long day. We've been playing 7 rounds of Magic at this point. We are in a brewery. I don't think either of these players have been partaking, but it's always a, thing to note. It's been a long day. People have been having fun. Misplays are going to happen. We're not playing at the highest level here. This is not a pro tour. We're all here just having fun, having a good time. But a bit unfortunate that the door was slammed a little hard on Curran there. Duck is getting great draws and assembling a combo that is actually really hard for Curran to break in game 1, having access to only one source of enchantment removal. Alright, there's an exploration. Play another land. Say go. Notably, Curran not having a mana dork. Has, I believe, 8 in the deck. Did not have one for turn 1, unfortunately. Alright, but does have the pair of combo potential, but no mana dorks yet. Swings in for 1 and passes. This is not exactly the fast start that Curran is hoping for, and is actually the slow start that Duck likes to see. Okay, I believe Curran did keep this hand because there's a Naturalize in hand. There's also a Cradle. And a Tangle Wire. So next turn we'll be able to Tangle Wire here. There's our Gothian Enchantress. And a Serra Sanctum. Ooh, that is a lot of mana. And another land. Unfortunately, that exploration making the Tangle Wire not as good. Being able to double land drop and actually having access to the lands necessary. Alright, that Sanctum is tapping for just 1 currently. But how about a Sterling Grove? Not only does it give Shroud for all your other enchantments, but you can also sack it to go find whatever enchantment you want to put on top of your deck. That, I think, is a must answer for Duck right here. Or for Curran, sorry. Giving Duck access to whatever he's missing from his current hand is very dangerous. It needs to be treated as such. Now, Curran is only running 4 naturalizes, I think. No, is it 3? He doesn't have a lot of answers for enchantments, basically. Okay, we are going to naturalize here. I think that is the right call. And I believe that's a wasteland as well. Yes, okay, we are going to wasteland the Sanctum. So no Tangle Wire coming down this turn, but we are going to get in for 2. And Duck, of course, not blocking with his card draw engine. That is a creature, which is one of the downsides for this deck. You can get rid of it with Edict effects because it does have Shroud, but does find another one. And we'll go to Curran's turn. Like, you want to say that Exploration is a Miri's Guile because he had it last turn, or last game. Okay, there's a Cradle. Tapping for 3. Play out the Tangle Wire. There's a Tormod's Crypt. Very good. Swinging in for 2. Just when you thought you've taken care of all your opponent's threats, you have to... Yeah, you do have to tap down 4. It's not targeting, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, you do have to tap down 4. And in this case, I think it would make more sense to tap down a land, but I think Duck already drew. So, future reference, if you're not going to block with those Enchantresses, which you never would want to, you might as well tap them down. Alright, tapping 3. Choosing to not tap down the Crypt, I guess that makes sense. And just another Wasteland, just trying to keep Duck off of mana. Even with the Exploration. Ooh, actually a very good heads-up play from Curran here. There is a Replenish in hand. This time I'm sure of it. No. I don't know what those cards look like. I'm getting glimpses. That's an Aura of Silence. That's not a Replenish. Alright, but does find his 3rd Enchantress. Ooh. That is rough. Alright. If Duck can find any enchantment here, he's going to be in trouble. Dropping down to 9. Curran bringing the beats. The Painlands and the 1/1s getting a lot of work done. Alright, Duck finding a land. And tap down the 2 Enchantresses. It's going to fetch here. Go to 8. And what are we going to see? I tap in 3 for an Enchantress Presence. Draw 3. Okay, that is a replenish. That is a replenish. Okay, just drew 2 replenishes. Oh boy. And it's going to say go. Alright, tapping Cradle. Naturalize the Enchantress Presence. Tapping 1 down for the Tangle Wire, tapping it to itself. It'll be relevant for 1 more turn for Duck. And just going to get in for 2. And Curran has found lots of sideboard cards here, but has not found much of his combo pieces, unfortunately. Not finding Mana Dorks, not finding Survival. Not even finding some of the big threats like a Masticore. Okay, so there's Parallax Wave. Plays out a Seal of Cleansing. Draw 3. Just the card draw of this deck is so over the top. Now with Exploration, you can play 2 lands. All that land destruction that Curran did early on becoming a little pointless. I mean, taking him off of Serra Sanctum is very good because he doesn't have the crazy amounts of mana yet. Alright, he's going to fetch here. Goes to 5. I haven't seen anything yet that stabilizes Duck, though. Parallax Wave... He can't cast right now. Would stabilize for a little while. And the way Kern's been drawing, I think actually might be pretty beneficial next turn. He can try... Okay, we're going to tap for... Oh no, he can cast it. Sorry, he was fetching for his 4th land. Okay, so he can go for it. Yes, okay, he is going to play out the wave. Draw 3. There's an Elephant Grass as well. That is also a very good stop hitting me in the face card. It's not quite a fog, but definitely does the job. And he's going to say go. He's going to wait to use the counters until he absolutely has to. All right. Current finding a Fintorn Elves. And before combat, I'm going to target 2 of your guys. Is that it? Alright, and then going to naturalize. Current having the 3rd naturalize here. This is huge. So unfortunately this doesn't work the way Duck wants. He can't exile it and have it lose. You can only do that with your own triggers by holding priority. But he does save himself from taking 2 damage this turn. So that is relevant. Okay, we're going to seal one of the Tormod's crypts. In response, it might as well just hit. Yep. That does make the 2 replenishes less good. And I think Duck is going to need to start chump blocking pretty soon with his guys if he can't find solitary confinement. All right, well, there's a Sterling Grove. Now, I think you can actually react to the trigger, but Duck not really caring to draw here. Or not really caring what he draws here, I should say. Okay, we haven't hit a Sacrosanctum yet, it looks like. But we do have 2 explorations now. So he's played 2 lands, 3 lands, go drop to 3.
So that's your second land drop? Yes. Second land drop. Thank you.
Oh, okay, this is how many land drops remaining. Okay, so 1 land drop remaining. Tap in 4 for an Opalescence. Okay. Draw 3. There's a Sacrosanctum. Hitting it at the last possible second. It is only going to tap to give him 4 mana currently. But it is still a land that gives you 4 mana for 1 tap. So that's still pretty good. Okay, so 5 mana up. What are you going to play? You can play the Elephant Grass. Kern doesn't have any good attacks with that Opalescence, that Sterling Grove being a good blocker. Alright, playing out the Aura of Silence. I need to triple check the Aura's wording. Does it make your own stuff more expensive? I think it just makes your opponent's stuff more expensive. Alright, gonna take a point here. Yes, it does just make your opponent's stuff more expensive. Totally fair and balanced Magic card. Playing out an Elephant Grass, drawing 3. Now your opponent's got to pay mana to attack. Not that they're going to anyways. And this is the point where the Enchantress deck just starts to salt off. Duck is playing a one-man game here. He's drawn so many cards that he now needs to discard if we're going to his cleanup step. Alright. These are all the ones I don't want. Say go. Now, nobly with that Sterling Grove, Curran does need 2 pieces of enchantment removal. 1 for the Sterling Grove, 1 for the Opalescence. And it's just going to say go here. I think we are starting to near the end, unfortunately. He's burned 3 of his naturalizes already. He potentially only has 1 left. Still has an Antuco Vigilante. Alright, we're going to tap for a boatload of mana. 6 for a Parallax Wave, and this is, I think, locked down at this point. Draw 3. With Opalescence and Parallax Wave, all your creatures are gone. Can swing in unobstructed for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 damage this turn. Opalescence does not turn itself into a creature, notably. But the hits are going to keep coming. Alright, there's a solitary confinement. Even if you find something, you're not finding something. And at this point, it's mostly just going to come down to how much can Gurn take. He's at 20. Swinging for 8. And Duck can keep going. He's got another Sanctum he can play down. He hasn't used any of his land drops, I think. Or if he has, it's been very few of them. I don't even think he needs to discard these cards, really. But so much value, doesn't even matter. Alright, so that Tormod's Crypt does cost more thanks to the Aura of Silence, which is a little buried. So Kern may have forgot about it. Looks like both players forgot about it. I don't think it really matters at this point. I'm pretty sure that Tormod's Crypt can't even target. Because you have to target a player, right? And you can't with Solitary Confinement. Alright, we're going to sack the Sterling Grove. In theory, this gives Gurn an opening. It seems a little risky, Duck finding another Solitary Confinement. Honestly, you had the board locked down. I wouldn't even have risked going for this. Okay, so he's going to sack the Solitary Confinement. But he could have swung in with it. Did he miss lethal here? I think he might have missed lethal by sacking the Solitary Confinement. Or no, is he leaving? You can swing in with it and the... yeah, I feel like, yeah, you could have just won. Right? Yeah. Alright. I mean, it was game over already. But looks like Kern wants to see one more card. Just to see. Nope, just gonna pass. Do it. I haven't even been tracking if Duck's been paying for his Elephant Grass. I assume he can. Alright, and now remembering that he can actually swing in with those guys. And that is going to be game. Duck takes it down and a clean 2-0. Congrats to Duck for taking down the monthly. This is his first time ever. It looks like Enchantress was the deck to do it. All right, time for the question of the video. I know all of you are waiting for this. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Best way to find your way back here. And if you already are subscribed, the best way to help out the channel is to comment below. What's your favorite enchantment? This helps YouTube know that you're not a bot, engages with the channel, and lets it know that you stayed to the end. And honestly, that helps out a lot. If you want to support the channel financially, there is a Patreon link in the video description. That money goes towards travel expenses, gear upgrades, and just making more pre-modern videos. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.